I am Chris Ware, the owner of Microvision Computers, and this is the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this special episode in the series entitled Made in Canada Creator Resources, I chat with specialists in particular areas to discuss whether Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators have all the resources they need in Canada to be productive and promote their product. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Chris Ware is the owner of Microvision Computers, built on a strong legacy over 40 years in Nanaimo, BC. The PC Builder offers products and services that deliver value to customers, paired with exciting opportunities for growth on the horizon. When Chris is not immersed in the 100% Canadian-owned and operated company, he can be found making the most of life, whether it's spending time on the water, sneaking in naps with his dog, savoring great food and wine with his wife, or embracing the joys of being a new dad. Microvision Computers all started as a passion business, a simple IT shop in Nanaimo with strong local roots. Fast forward to now, Microvision Computers has evolved into Canada's go-to destination for custom-built systems. For over 40 years, the company has streamlined its focus to one thing: tailor-made technology that outperforms off-the-shelf options. The company believes that building computers is like designing a dream home. Every spec and feature is form-fitted to your lifestyle, creating a high-value investment that evolves with you. Just as custom home can be renovated and improved, a built-from-scratch computer is upgradable, letting parts be replaced over time, protecting that investment for the long run. So, without further ado, here's a special episode of Made in Canada Creator Resources featuring my chat with Chris Ware from Microvision Computers. So, Chris Ware, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, what was the first comic book that you read?
Well, John, I was never much of a reader, and I'm still not, to be honest. So I preferred my comic books to be visually interpreted on the screen by movies and TV shows.
Was there any favorite that you had growing up?
I would say always Batman is probably the number one.
Now, would that be the 66 Batman or something else?
You're making me dust off some cobwebs that I don't know if I can dust off here. I remember watching just the classic Batman and Robin. That's what I grew up watching.
Super. Okay, good stuff. Well, you're here in the capacity of a technology company. And typically when I talk to people who are comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters, that extends to companies like yourselves. So you are the owner of Microvision Computers. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
We specialize in creating custom computers for, various uses. One of the more popular industries is, graphic design, animation, really content creation, the whole world. We exist as an alternative to traditional manufacturers and big box stores. The reason being is we can build a computer tailored specific to the use that the customer wants, which means every dollar that gets spent goes towards a proper performance, and you're not overbuying or underbuying anything.
Very good. And you're located on the west coast of Canada.
Yes, we're on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo. Sometimes if you're not from BC, people have trouble pronouncing that one.
Sure. So I'm sure you've got new products all the time, but you could talk about the latest product that you have for creators.
Yeah, we have a couple different content creator products listed on our website. They're always changing and being updated because new components are always coming out. If you get a new motherboard, let's say, then there's going to be maybe a different type of RAM or a different SSD that you might want to plug into it. So we're always updating to keep up to date with the newest technology that's coming out, which seems to happen every kind of 2 or 3 months, depending on the component.
Okay. The reason I reached out to you is I was thinking out loud of whether we can be self-sufficient in Canada. And that's from the creation of comic books from beginning to end, coming up with an idea. How do you create it? How do you publish it? How do you distribute it? How do you promote it? So these are certain things I'm talking about. And your capability is more for the digital creator. So I wanted to ask a little bit more about that, being a Canadian company and offering solutions for creators. Have you thought a bit about that? Like, why aren't there more technology companies in Canada who are making products for creators?
Well, I'm sure, as you know, Canada is a much smaller market than some of the other major ones that are outside of our borders. So I think that's one of the big reasons. And a business like mine, we have other competitors across the country, of course, but it's a huge industry, multi-billion dollar, and it's definitely overshadowed by, the really large players like the Dell, Lenovo, HPs of the world. And so there's a bit of a niche market here. And generally, when you get into a niche technology provider, it's just a bit of a smaller market share overall. I'm not sure if that answers the question that you were asking, but that's what came to mind.
It's a broader sort of question, I guess, to ask, like, where did they all go? Because I remember Microvision Computers has been around for over 40 years. And over that time, we've seen a lot of changes in the Canadian marketplace when it comes to technologies. I remember right on my desk here, I've got the old BlackBerry phone. That was one of the things that we were very proud of, having here in Canada. And I guess as time has gone by and a lot of the companies have sort of moved away, or there's been less of a need. So I'm just curious to know, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think we can support more technology companies here in Canada? You think that's something that we should strive for and try to do more in Canada?
Yeah, I think definitely, most recently with all of the changes or threats of changes with tariffs and protecting our economy and our sovereignty, I've even seen myself a really huge influx of inquiries from both Canadian businesses, but also businesses from outside of Canada doing business in Canada wanting to support Canadian businesses. So I think as we go through this new era and new time where there is a focus on supporting Canadian businesses, and I don't want to say reducing the need for trade, but focusing more on, manufacturing within your own country, then yes, there definitely is room and opportunity for other technology companies to exist and produce products for Canadians. It's amazing the number of both people and companies that are in Canada that are just used to buying from US companies or even some other international ones because that's just always what they've done and that's just how it is. And with all this new trade talk in the last few months, people are definitely thinking twice about where they're buying from and why they are buying from them.
Right, right. It's good to have a Canadian company on your side, that's for sure. But realistically, though, when you're making a computer, I know from experience that Canada doesn't produce the parts that are inside the computer. We don't have the silicon
No,
making capabilities. So you're pretty much pulling parts from almost all over the world, but yet it's coming together in one product made by Canadian people, correct?
that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, so the individual components, majority of them come from outside of North America. And yeah, we procure them and figure out which ones are going to work best together based on what the task at hand is going to be for that particular computer. And then we have our own manufacturing and testing process that we put every computer through and get to put our own stamp of approval and our own touch on it and quality seal before we send it out to the customer.
Right. Well, that's good stuff. I mean, hopefully down the road that things will change, but it's good to know that you're there helping out Canadian creators to have a great quality product that they can rely on. That's what they like most, that's for sure. So let's talk about where things are going. What does Microvision Computers have on its agenda or roadmap for the next year or so? Is there anything you can talk about?
Yeah, I think the digital creation industry, if you want to call it that, whether, comic books and animators and that segment is, I'm sure, as you know, going through a pretty big change at the moment. I don't know if I call it change, but there's a lot of turmoil, I guess is a better word to say, the introduction of AI and what it means for the whole industry. So, we continue to support the digital creators as best as we can, continuing to update products, on our website, as I said, and through all the inquiries that we get through our website as well. And we've really got to focus on creating more partnerships directly with other businesses. The digital creation industry, not just individuals, but the businesses themselves, is actually a very large segment of that locally in British Columbia, supporting film and TV industry as one particular segment. So that's really our growth plan, and what's on the horizon is continuing to partner with more businesses locally.
Great. With everything going on, not only today, but in the future, where do you recommend people go online to find out more about microvision computers?
They can definitely go to our website, micro-vision.ca. That's the best place to go online for sure.
Great. Well, Chris, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
Yeah, I think that there's a huge opportunity within Canada, as I said, to support Canadian businesses and not just order from your typical places you order from because it's cheap or fast or, what your best friend does. So whether it's my business or other ones out there, I think there's a really important opportunity for people in Canada to support local and support Canadian businesses and see the benefits of that to the Canadian economy.
Thanks to Chris for the chat. You can discover more about microvision computers online at micro-vision.ca and on Instagram at instagram.com/microvisionpc. And thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to full conversations and discover more about creators' insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website, so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're welcome to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.